Floyd speaks life. You gotta stay in the driver's seat of your life. You gotta command your life. You have to grab that steering wheel. Using God's your GPS. You're gonna have to grab that steering wheel and take control of what you're doing. Take responsibility for your actions. Hold yourself accountable. Give permission to the people around you to hold you accountable. God loves us. God loves us so much. He will send people around us to bless us, to show us how much He loves us, help guide us, help feed us. We gotta learn how to receive that love. We gotta stay healthy enough to receive that love. Feed our good wolf and know how to give it. Know how to stay in community. God loves us. God loves us. So, speaks life.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of my own podcast, J. Floyd Speaks Life. You know, I got a lot going on right now, man, just to, I try to tie everything into my ministry, man, and my message. Right, I'm still promoting my book, The Driver's Seat. It came out last July. Still doing some workshops and speaking engagements on that. Helping people get in the driver's seat of their lives, man, and start, really stepping into their purpose, and not living, shy and timid when because you're doing right in life, Like I said, also a couple of workshops, also hosting the Code M radio show. So shout out to my man Bilal Akram and the Code M family. We do that up every week. So, I just, right now, a lot of people brought up to me that I should do a podcast, and I think my personality kind of lends itself to it, because I don't know. I mean, just throughout my life, most of the time I talk to people, I end up, I'm like a magnet for people's life story. That's just something I'm really good at, obtaining somebody's intimate details of their life, So, I've always liked this format and liked when you could really, listen to a show, an in-depth interview with a person that in one way and find out a lot about how they were raised, things, what made them who they are, what did they go through and how did each experience shape them. Shout out to Mark Maron on the WTF podcast, which is one of my favorites and was a big influence to me in doing this show, So, we're going to get into it, man. I'm not going to waste any more time. Shout out to my man Sean Charles and my man Sam Goody for lacing me with my theme music. Every good hero needs a theme music. And shout out to my wife, Nia Neres, for the voiceover. I'm excited for y'all to hear this first interview. When I first decided to do the podcast, I put together like 10 names of people that I wanted to sit down with. And right at the top was my man, Chef Eric Wells. My wife and I have been to a few of his cooking classes, and it's dope. And I consider him to be a personal friend. And I thought he would be the most appropriate person to get this started with, so people can get to know a little bit more about him. So, here we go. I hope y'all enjoy my in-depth interview with Chef Eric Wells on J. Floyd Speaks Life.
J. Floyd Speaks Life. J. Floyd is a husband, father, and follower of Christ. After enduring several tragedies at an early age, he faced depression and anxiety for years. After being led down the path of healing himself, he realized that his purpose is to use his words, his life, and his testimony to help others make similar journeys to healing through God's love. Jay is a Christian self-help author, speaker, and life coach. On this podcast, he will sit down with people you may know through TV or social media, walking in their purpose as they talk about what makes them who they are and simply speak about life. on J. Floyd Speaks Life.
All right. Man, Chef, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. This is my first episode of the podcast, man.
Nice. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. Welcome to J. Floyd Speaks Life, man. You know, this is where I just want to give people an opportunity to understand the heart of some of the people that are doing things in our community.
Good.
And you're doing some stuff, man.
Well, again, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to share my story, and I'm looking forward to it. So I guess let's get it going.
Let's get it going. I got to say, man, you are one of the most humble celebrities I've ever seen. I know you probably don't like that word.
I hate the word. I hate the word hate, but I hate the word celebrity a little more too.
So how does it feel starting to embrace this at all? I mean, because I know it's got to come up.
It's difficult because I don't look at myself that way. I'm just a regular guy. I grew up on Kinsman. I'm a regular kid that been blessed with this wonderful gift. So everything I've achieved and everything I've obtained in my life, I just give glory to God. First of all, and I just thank Him for using me as a conduit. As the guide here to kind of show people what He can do in your life.
You know what? You see a lot of people that, nowadays they use a false humility, but you are a genuinely humble person, man. I think that probably has a lot to do with why you have succeeded. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, thank you, man.
So question for you, man, 'cause cooking, having a skill like that, I mean, like when you meet people, like, do they get like insecure? Do they have like cooking jokes?
You know what? Not really jokes, but I can't walk through a grocery store without someone jumping out of the blue. Chef, you don't know me, but I got a question to ask you. Now, if I'm cooking this and I add a little of this and this to it, I'm like, I'm just in here to get cereal.
So
I
I
don't
really
know.
want tips from you right there in the spot.
Everyone thinks I have tips like off the top of my dome, and I try to help out, but not all the time,
Okay. All right. So let's get to the heart of Eric Wells. Where were you born, man? Are you native here?
Born and raised here in Cleveland. Born on Kinsman.
Ohio.
I'm a Kinsman kid. Inner city. Born in 72. So I'm 40 something this year.
So tell me, Kinsman 1972. What's that like?
It was interesting back then. At that time, especially the part of Kinsman that my parents, lived in. There wasn't a lot of African Americans around there. It was actually a large Jewish neighborhood. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So late 70s, when we start having all the issues in Glenville and all those other issues, the Jewish people start moving out of the inner cities, and that's when it became more populated by African Americans. But yeah, that's where we were. So we lived closer to Shaker, but we lived right on the border of Shaker and Cleveland. And it was interesting. We were one of the few families
so it
that
was like
had,
almost chagrin.
Yeah, it was almost chagrin. It was chagrin-ish. It's Chagrin Heights is what it was. We were one of the few families on our street and in our neighborhood that had both parents at home, African American families. So everyone looked at my father as like the father of the neighborhood, so they kind of treated him like they were, that was their father, so it was a responsibility to kind of, still be there as like the brothers and, to everyone in the neighborhood, the sisters and the brothers of everyone in the neighborhood.
Man, that's really dope. So you growing up in that neighborhood, 70s, both parents, one of the few black families there at first. So how was that structure like? Is it a strict household?
Well, it was interesting. My father was a prominent labor leader in the city.
Really?
My father was president and business manager of local 1099, which were like the garbage men, the street workers, all of them. And he represented Cleveland and pretty much all of the surrounding suburbs. So, in the 80s when the garbage workers would go on strike, he was the one on the news every day, arguing with the mayor, whoever the mayor was at the time, about the policies and healthcare and everything for these workers. And so seeing how powerful my father was when I was young, it kind of made me kind of stay in line too. But yeah, he was a really powerful man.
So you're not testing pops in the house, is what you're saying?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You didn't have that moment. You know, a lot of boys had that moment.
I had that one moment.
Yeah, you had to have the one.
5th grade, I got into it with my teacher at school and got suspended and got home, and he said something to me and I snapped back at him by my father.
Ooh.
And next thing I know, I'm picking myself up off the ground, and that was the last time I did that.
Everybody has that one moment.
That one moment, amen.
And it's almost necessary, right?
It is needed. You have to. I don't know what kind of man I would be today if I didn't have him put me in line. You know what I'm saying? I'd probably be out here wilding or something, doing something crazy.
So Pops was on the news. Mm-hmm. On on WEWS with Leon Bibb and all of them. He's out there, right?
All of them. Yep.
He's out there. So how did that influence you today?
You know what? A little bit, but it influenced me in the exact opposite way. Everyone else in my family became involved either with the city, the state, or the county, working for either one of those. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do it on my own. And I just saw how like cousins popped up out of nowhere. I'm your cousin, man. I need a job, and he got everyone jobs, and I always said I want to be self-sufficient. I honored and respected everything my father did and who he was, but I wanted to be self-sufficient. So
he was the plug.
Did it on my own.
He was the connect to get the job.
Exactly.
How did he make money doing that, or was it like underappreciated?
Oh, no. He did really well. It was just, honestly, it was a situation. I'm not going to get too deep, but it was a situation where a family member, he got a job did something they shouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, we got Carl Monday on knocking on our door. and you
never want to get Carl Monday.
And this is, like I said, late 80s, and I said,
he don't give up.
He don't give up. And it had nothing to do with my father, but because of the relationship, he came knocking on our door, and we were on the news for the wrong reason.
He wanted some answers.
Yeah, and I was like, that's the last time I'm doing that. I mean, I'm never going to be in that situation there. And I always said that I'll just do anything I want to do on my own. Yeah.
So how was it? How was the family structure with your parents? Like, did your mom work or did she stay home?
So my mom pretty much stayed at home from the time I was born. I'm the youngest of 4. So when I was born, my father was like, hey, you just, you can stay home and, be at, a house, just take care of the house while, and raise us as, he worked. So, that's pretty much how it was. So, that's what kind of gave me the cooking gene. Was just being at home with my mom and just seeing how she just created just amazing meals. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I was out playing football and stuff too. Don't think I had like an easy bake oven, You
weren't just sitting in the house with the apron on.
Yeah, no apron on. I was out playing football and basketball and baseball.
Shep was like, let me just clear the air.
Clear the air right now. I got a pink shirt on, but I wasn't out there, you know what I'm saying? But no disrespect to anybody do, but that's not me.
So you had both sides.
That's both sides. Yeah. So I have the strength and everything that my father had, but I had the domesticated side that I saw from my mother, and I really gravitated toward that. I loved the feeling that she made everyone feel by just creating meals.
Wow. Wait a minute, because this is like people who can't cook like me, or people who just get by. I remember the first thing I learned how to cook. My mother taught me to boil a hot dog.
Okay.
What's the first thing you learned how to cook, man?
Well, the first dish I've ever made, like from a cookbook, I was 8 years old. I made a dish called chicken cacciatore. Now, chicken cacciatore is an Italian chicken dish.
I'm glad you explained that, because I was going to say, there's a lot of people like me that's going to be like, I've heard of it, but black people don't eat that. So you're going to have to explain to us what it is.
So my mother had a Betty Crocker cookbook, and on the cover of the cookbook was this picture of chicken cacciatore. So all this summer when I was 8 years old, I just begged her, Mom, please, can I make this? Can I make it? She's like, boy, go outside and play. Just go outside and play. So finally she was like, go out there. And she said, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy everything. So she went to the store, bought all the ingredients. I followed the directions, made the dish. I had chicken juice and tomato sauce everywhere, on the floor, on the ceiling, on the wall. But the dish came out it looked exactly like the picture on the cover. 8 years old. And my family loved it. Even my father, who was really, really cynical, but he loved it. And from there, I was like, wow, I got a little something here,
Yeah.
you know. And
First time out the gate.
yeah, you know, I mean, and it was amazing. Then, you know, my mother used to like make spaghetti or something like that. And she would always leave me some ground beef, and I would make these things called volcano burgers, right? So volcano burgers was, I don't know what was wrong with me. So I would go in the cabinet and I would get every single spice in the cabinet, and I would add it to the ground beef and then make a patty and fry it and eat it. And she'd say, you know, if you're going to make it, you got to eat it. And that's how I think I developed my palate as far as different spices and things like that, because I used to do one and then like 3 days later, okay, I'm not putting a lot of that in there. Put a little more of this,
So
and
you can
do a little of
recognize
that.
all the tastes
Exactly.
of each seasoning.
Yeah, when I was
How
young.
many seasonings did y'all have? Because I mean, if you say every spice from when I was young, it would be salt, pepper, paprika, and that's about it.
That's it.
Or Lawry's.
Lawry's,
Get
yeah,
some
yeah.
Lawry's.
Yeah, we had about 15 to 20.
Okay.
You know, just all kind of like dried oregano, dried basil, you know, paprika, you know, cayenne, which made them volcano burgers. You know, so
And you realize what to take out and what to keep in.
and what to add
That's
in.
really
yeah,
good,
yeah.
man.
So that's where it kind of started. You know.
So that's really, it's key for, I think, for parents to, get their kids engaged in something and let them get their hands dirty and succeed or fail. Maybe they knock it out the park first time out. And then you on at that point, you got some momentum, some inertia.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah, that's exactly the way that my parents were with me, and that's the way I try to be with my children.
Yeah, man, that's really good. So let me ask you this. So we're starting to build the Wells household here, right? So we got mom is staying at home now because she's got 4 kids now. Religious?
Yes, very much so. My mother was a very, very strong Christian, like a a 4-day-a-week Christian.
Okay.
So I was there on Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Sunday morning, all day Sunday. So
all day Sunday.
We were there a
So
lot.
y'all were legit. Is that like Baptist?
No, we were a Bethany Christian church that we went to. So we was Church of God in Christ.
Oh, Kojic.
Kojic.
Okay,
Yeah.
now we're talking.
Yeah, it was Kojic.
Oh yeah, I know all about Kojic. Yeah. Okay, so you say were you were the youngest of 4?
I was the youngest of 4, but we had a nice little spread. So my sisters were the 2 older ones, and they were 20 and 18 years older than me.
Wow.
And then I have a brother that's 4 years older than me. And then me.
Man, that's a big gap.
That was a
so they were
huge
like,
gap.
we're done.
Yeah.
And then like 20 years later, okay, let's try it again.
Let's try it again. And it's funny because my sisters have children and they're my age. So they're my nieces and nephews. And like 2 of them are older than me.
Wow.
So my nieces and nephews are younger than me,
That's,
Or older than
not to make it racial or nothing, but I found that's common in Black families.
It
like,
is common.
We'll have uncles that's younger than us and stuff like that. That happens, man.
It happens, it was really interesting to be raised with my nephews and nieces and, that were older than me. It's just really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a step niece who's older than me.
Wow.
So yeah, that's, it's interesting. But so let's talk a little bit more about, well, first of all, your siblings. So you got 2 girls and then 2 boys. So they balanced it out with a lot of years. How was that growing up? You had adult women as sisters.
Yeah, it was interesting in a sense where we were separate a lot. I didn't learn a lot from them when I was young because it was like almost like they were aunts.
Yeah,
more
they
than
all
sisters.
living life, man.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're doing their thing,
Yeah.
and I'm a young guy, and I'm like, okay, these 2 women, I guess they're my sisters, So my sisters, they moved around a lot. I had one that lived out in California for a little while, and then I had another one that lived down in Southern Ohio for a little bit. So, just really getting to know them well was difficult until I got a little older, especially around the time my parents got sick and passed away. That's when we got closer. And then my oldest sister passed away about 4 years ago or so. So it's just 3 of us left now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that seeing like grown women as siblings? I know you said you weren't around them much, but do you think that affected like how you view women? Like maybe it matured your view?
Maybe. I never really thought about it like that, but maybe. I didn't see them as like little girls. Obviously they were adults. Maybe that's true. I never thought about it. Thank you. Wow.
That's what I do. That's what I do, Chef. All right, now, so we're talking about kinsmen. What school are we talking about here?
So interesting. So I went to kindergarten and first grade at A.J. Rickoff, which is on 146th, 5th in Kinsman. Then my mother sent me to a school called the Fundamental Education Center.
Wow.
Okay. So
we didn't Fundamental Education Center.
We were not. Yeah, it was FEC. FEC. That's what we were. It was just FEC. So it was interesting. We weren't on like little small buses. We didn't wear we didn't wear, no disrespect, but we didn't wear helmets to school or anything like that.
So how do you get into this school?
So back then in the 70s, and if anybody in the 70s, that this was like the prime school to get into. You had to get in a lottery to get into this school. So this was like the first really magnet school in the Cleveland area. Okay. So it was huge. We used to be downtown on Lakeside where the dome was. Yeah. That big dome. That's where that was built for us back in the 70s. Yeah. So we were down there from, my second grade year to about my fifth grade year. And then they closed where they made the science, whatever they made it to. And they moved us up onto 55th and Whittier, where J.D. Rockefeller used to be, the school J.D. Rockefeller. So that's where I went into the 8th grade, and from the 9th grade into graduation high school, I went to John Marshall. I was bused on the west side.
Marshall.
Yeah.
What are the lawyers?
John Marshall lawyers, yes.
The lawyers, man. Yo, that's really dope. So what are we talking about in school here? We popular?
I was chill. I was cool with everyone. I wasn't like I wasn't
came
a
out
jock.
of FEC. You didn't come up the regular pipeline at this point,
exactly.
Right?
Great point. So everyone knew everyone when I got there. But the good thing about it was my brother, like I said, was 4 years older than me. He graduated from Marshall. The year he graduated, which was 86, in the summer of 86, I came to Marshall in the fall of 86. So pretty much all of the upperclassmen knew my brother. So they knew me through my brother. So, I was protected coming in there. But, it was interesting. I was a kind of a cool guy. We used to have this group back, because when my brother was there, he had this group called the Polo Club, right? Okay. So the Polo Club was like a dressing group. They used to like wear suits and ties at school and, at high school, suits and ties and really dress really, really fly and things like that. So they passed it down to us. So I basically was part of the Polo Club.
So you were clicked up.
Yeah, that was my little group, the Polo Club. Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't thought about that in years.
The Polo Club. Guys were dressing up. You were not a gang.
We were not a gang.
We just want to clarify for everybody listening.
We were just dressing up. We'd go to Randall Mall when Randall Mall was open, and we'd go buy new outfits and,
Now you said buy. That's a key word.
Yeah.
Y'all were not boosting.
No, please.
Because I know there's some social clubs out there that, boosted a few items from Randall Mall.
Worked hard from my parents to get money to go buy stuff.
That's what I'm talking about. See, that's why you are who you are now, man. That integrity. So y'all are dressing up, shirt, tie, like trench coats and all of that?
Not really trench coats, but we were primarily I was into the suits and ties. A lot of those guys are just into polo gear, and, back then, well, now even, but polo gear was like, you had polo gear, you were on it, you know what I'm saying? So, I wore a lot of polo and a lot of suits and ties. If you go through like my yearbook, that's all you see. Like, who is this guy, this teacher here? And I'm not the teacher. I just had a shirt and tie on,
So is this y'all expression or this is to get the girls?
A little of both.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Because it was about that time, that's when gangs and everybody was, there were a bunch of gangs and stuff like that. And, we were cool with everyone. But we just had a different vibe. We were into music and women and dressing. That's all we were into. Dressing really well, into women and into music.
That sounds a lot like my high school story. I can relate. All right, so we getting through high school. Sports?
Yeah, I played baseball in high school.
Baseball.
So
All right.
I played my junior and senior year at John Marshall, which we had an amazing team. I didn't play much. I don't know why, but I didn't play much. But I was on the team.
There's usually only one reason why.
Yeah, it usually is one reason, but we're not going to talk about
And
that.
that's why we are interviewing Chef Eric Wells and not third baseman
Exactly,
Eric Wells.
center fielder Eric Wells. You know, I feel you. Yeah, no, I love the game. I love the sport, but I didn't really play a lot. I didn't play a lot.
So
Mhm.
all 4 years?
All 4 years, John Marshall.
Great.
Pretty solid, man. I had A's, B's, which is interesting. So I had A's and B's. Was really smart in high school. But I was one of those dudes that kind of like sat in the back of the class and read the newspaper because I had my shirt and tie on and my suit jacket on. So I'm in the back reading the stock market in the back of the news. And the teachers, Eric Wells, would you like to put down the newspaper? Like, yeah, I'm just checking my stocks real quick. I put it and everybody laughs and
So
everything.
you read
You know
the NASDAQ report.
exactly. I didn't know what I was reading back then.
But you
I was
were in
fronting.
full character.
I was fronting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, grades were great, and then, but I played around my senior year, and I applied for college late. So I didn't apply for college until like February of my senior year, right? So I got accepted at Florida A&M.
FAMU.
Yeah, FAMU. So they accepted me and say, hey, great, your grades are great, whatever. But we don't have any more housing because you applied late. So you have to come down to Tallahassee and find yourself a home. So I went down in August and school started in like 2 weeks and went down there and could not find an apartment. I cannot find an apartment. And, I don't know if you're familiar with Tallahassee, but Tallahassee is just this one little town, college town, and there's two colleges in there, Florida A&M and Florida State, and they're like east side and west side of Cleveland. Just think about it like that. If Florida A&M is in the east side of Cleveland, Florida State is on the west side. I lived right behind Florida State, and I didn't have a car, and I didn't know how to catch the bus down there.
That's the only place you could find housing.
Yeah, so I stayed down there about 3 weeks and got like incredibly homesick and came home.
Wow.
Worst decision I've ever made in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we talking about college. Is this for your major was culinary arts?
Nope. My thing was when I was in high school and when I got out of high school, I wanted to be a writer. I was a journalist.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a sports journalist, man. So
you were going to be down there talking about the Seminoles,
yeah,
and the FAMU,
the Rattlers,
the Rattlers,
yes. So I that's one thing I take a lot of pride in was my ability to write. And I wrote for my high school newspaper. We won some awards when I was in high school for our high school newspapers, and I went to college, and that's what I wanted to do. So when I left FAM, I came back and I went to Cleveland State and ended up writing for Cleveland State's newspaper, writing their in their sports section, and it was like free, but it was good to get my name on a byline. You know what I'm saying? And I wrote for some free newspapers in the Cleveland area, but that's just kind of it didn't interest me too much anymore. So I kind of got away from that.
So how do you go from budding journalist working for Cleveland State to a chef?
So the process is interesting. So when I came back from Cleveland State, or came back from Florida A&M, started working at Cleveland State, or going to Cleveland State and working for Cleveland State, but I also start working for the Ohio Lottery. And my silly self, I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm thinking, man, you know what? I got a job. I don't need to go to college. So I kept working at Ohio Lottery and basically quit my job. Quit Cleveland State. So I was working 9 to 5, everything through, at Ohio Lottery, and then kind of worked there for years, and then ended up leaving the Ohio Lottery to find another job, which didn't work out. So I'm out there. And I ended up at Beechwood Dillard's after all of this. Ended up at Beechwood Dillard's early 2000s, right?
Okay.
Ended up at Peachwood Dillard. So I'm
So
working
you
there.
came full circle. You back to the polo club.
Back to the polo, and, and it's ironically enough, I worked in the polo and the
Of course you did.
and in the Tommy Hilfiger department. So, but I hated it. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I'm 10 years so out of high school. I'm like, what am I doing? I need to go back to college, whatever.
Yeah.
And then my mother got sick. So this was kind of the turning point of my career. My mother had a lung transplant in like early 1990s, and the lung transplant went well, but her all the anti-rejection medicines destroyed her kidneys.
Yeah.
So she ended up getting really sick and had renal failure. So she ended up passing away in 2003. Meanwhile, I've got a new job at Progressive Insurance, and before my mother passed away, one of the last things she told me was to take this gift as far as being a cook, being able to cook, to the next level. So I didn't know what that meant. I prayed on it, and the Lord gave me this vision of going to culinary school. But I was married, children, mortgage. I didn't have money to go to culinary school. So my family decided to use my mother's insurance money to send me to culinary school.
Wow.
And that was the gift. She gave me that gift, and that just kind of turned things around and kind of went from there,
That is such a blessing, man.
Yeah, it is.
It shows you how family can, we hear a lot of negative stories about family, especially when it comes to the passing of a loved one and insurance money.
Oh,
it blesses my heart to hear a positive one, man.
Yeah. I mean, and it was really interesting. I mean, it was one of those things where I didn't have to ask, it was offered, and I loved that. And when they wrote that check and, paid for my culinary school, it was just amazing. So I ended up being the first African-American to graduate from my culinary school. And then just kind of went from there,
Wow.
Yeah.
So that began the career of Chef Eric Wells.
Yeah. Pretty much began that career. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So the world does not miss center fielder Eric Wells. We good. We got the chef.
I had an awful arm too. I couldn't throw anybody out.
I had the same problem. My aim was horrible.
Ooh.
So tell me this, because you mentioned it a little bit at the time you had the struggles on which direction to go in your career. Mm-hmm. You were already married with children. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. Tell me about your marriage. How'd you get there, man?
Well, do you want the beginning story, or what do you want?
You know what? Give me whatever's on your heart.
Okay. So Lori and I got married in 97, 1997 we got married. And my big thing was I saw my father for years provide for my family. And I wanted to provide for my family, for my new family. So this is one of these things where you kind of put you put things in your hands instead of trying to have God guide you and have his will be done. So I'm trying to do this and do that. So when I left the lottery, I was offered, some guy came to me and was like, yeah, I work for this company, man. You'll be great working for this company. And you can make whatever money you can. I'm like, great. I could take care of my family. And without praying on it, without, asking the Lord for wisdom, I ended up, just quitting my job at the lottery and going to do that. And I stayed there like all of a week. Yeah. I couldn't stand it. I hated it. It was cold calls like, hi, my name is Eric. Would you like, I despised it. And then I was just out there for a couple of months, like just no job, trying to think of how I'm going to provide for my family. And then, I just kind of went before the Lord and just asked him for his wisdom. And he just kind of guided my steps from there, but Lori has been an amazing just companion, what I'm saying, always there for me, always praying for me, and just having her by my side has been really amazing.
I love seeing y'all. Full disclosure is that I go to church with the chef,
yes,
right? So I get to see him and Lori firsthand. And, one of the best things about life is that, doing life with people, you get to see them as examples. You get to see what it looks like in real life, not just somebody telling you what you should do, but watch them live life, live a married life. And I think that's beautiful to see you guys like that, man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
So how long have you been married?
Well, it'll be 22 years this year, so it's
22, man.
It's amazing, man. We met in 92, so a total of 27 years together, but 22 years married. And it's been really amazing through the ups and downs and all kind of good stuff, bad stuff. But, we're sticking it out, man. And we're just enjoying life. Enjoying life right now is an empty nester, so which is wonderful.
Yeah, all of the phases.
Exactly.
So tell me this: when you got Lori, did you cook for her to secure? Is that how you did it?
So that's honestly. Full disclosure, that was my thing. You know what I'm saying? So before I even met Lori, I would meet women and I'm like, yeah, so let's do dinner, and they'd be like, where are we going? I'm like, I'll come over to your house and cook for you. And I'd come over and I would cook for them and whatever, and like, it's kind of that whole entire boomerang thing, Eddie Murphy boomerang thing. So when I met Lori, I cooked for her and she cooked for me, and but it was just something about Lori just really, really just kind of made her stand out. You know what I'm saying? And I saw her as a woman, and I was just dealing with girls mostly. You know what I'm saying? And she reminded me a lot. She reminded me a lot of Felicia Rashad in The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
That's what she kind of reminded me of. So I said, that's the kind of woman I want to marry, and that's kind of went from there.
Every man needs a Claire Huxtable, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Who would not want a Claire Huxtable in their life?
Exactly.
Man? So fatherhood, man, that's a big word. Yeah. What does fatherhood mean to you, man?
It's, and I know it's a cliche, but it's responsibility. It's a responsibility. And my life changed. I tell people all the time, my life changed July 20th, 1994. That's when my oldest was born. And, I was tired of playing. I was tired of games. I was tired of, it was my wake up call. Hey, it's time to be a man, and I always tell people it's interesting. I just wonder what it would have been, how different it would have been if it was a boy. But a man having a girl, you start thinking of all the stuff you did to every girl. Yes. You're like,
sins of the father.
Yeah, you're sins of the father. So you're just like, hey, time for all the messing up and all the games to end. And I think, honestly, that's the day I became a man.
Yeah.
Is I put away all that childish stuff and had to be a man that day,
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first two were girls, so I know you start thinking like, oh man, now the boys are gonna creep around doing what I used to try to be doing.
Exactly.
They're gonna be trying to cook meals for my daughter.
Yeah, that's the fun part of life, I guess.
You get to see that cycle, man. So, I know this firsthand. A lot of people who have probably interacted with you and reached out to you probably know this. Dude, your schedule is killer. I mean, like, what are you booked to, like 2046 or something, man? Like
close. Close.
So, given that, and that's a great thing. This is what we ask
Praise
for.
God.
This is what we look for, the blessing as entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
How do you get that work-life balance going on?
The one thing that I don't have hobbies. and that's by choice, honestly. I'm not like some curmudgeon that's just at home just cooking all the time. But I choose not to have hobby. I guess you could say our hobby, my wife and our hobbies is traveling. We love to travel. So when we prayed on my career years ago, Lori said, what, the Lord spoke to me. And the Lord spoke to me, spoke to her and said that, she thought that I would be successful. And, and the Lord said that I'll be successful. So I said, great, praise God. She said, I want to be behind you with your success. She said, but I don't want a new car. I don't want new jewelry, clothes or anything. I just want to travel. Wow. So I said, I promise you that we'll go away. So every 2 or 3 months, we make it a thing to go away, even if it's just going away to a hotel. I said a motel. I'm sorry.
Polo club.
Yeah, polo club. I'm sorry. A hotel downtown for the night, for a weekend or something. Just getting away, and that's important for us. We base our lives almost around it. We plan our schedules around our next getaway, and it excites our marriage. Like, okay, we're about 2 weeks away from our next getaway. We're about a week and a half away from our next getaway. And we look forward to things like that. So that's important for us. Yeah.
So y'all listening, any of y'all entrepreneurs out there, y'all, staying busy, trying to stay busy and find that work balance. This is a tip for you. This is a way you can do it.
Exactly.
If you're in a relationship, in a marriage where you are with somebody who likes to travel, hook it up that way. Y'all are looking forward to the next trip. I think that's really good, and tied into your schedule. Obviously, you're seeing some success right now. What drives your business model, man? Because I know you're not like, you don't have the typical business model.
You know what? I don't even know what my business model is. Honestly,
did you just sit at home like, I know what I can do now. I know what's next.
It's honestly, and I know again it's a cliche, but the Spirit gives me this. The Holy Spirit gives me this. As far as even like the intimate dinners for two, I started doing these 15 years ago, and I didn't see it on TV. I didn't read about it in a newspaper or anything like that. It was just something I wanted to do. I used to cook for Lori, and things like that. And I said, it'd be interesting if I do these, but do these for couples and things like that. So I did it for some friends and family at first, and they loved it, and you gave me some tips. Oh, I think you should do this. You should do that. Then I did it for this one couple that was celebrating their first anniversary, and they loved it. I used to work with a girl at Progressive when I worked at Progressive, and she loved it, and she started telling other people at Progressive. Next thing I know, I'm like, maybe I should turn this thing around and do a little something with it. So I don't go by business models or anything like that. And I try stuff. And if it works, it works. If it don't, I'll try something else, Yeah. But I'm a low risk, high reward person as far as things that I try.
That's really good, man. Given how well you've done it, and I've been to some of your events, man, and you've done the intimate dinner for two for me and my wife,
exactly.
Which was, it was so good. Honestly, I don't even know the words to say to y'all.
I had a great time.
Give you the proper advertisement, but I suggest all of you couples reach out and get that done.
Thank you.
But you also take a unique take on some of these dishes, right? Like, this is not like people see you and they know the skill level is off the charts, but it's not like a, where you go to some of those fancy restaurants where you get like the little tiny one little thing and, just a little drop of something yellow on it. And you're like, I don't even know what this is. And they're like, well, it's fancy. Just eat
Yes, just eat it.
Your takes are kind of unique. One, in that everything really tastes good. You know exactly what it is. But it's, also you can't do it either, right? So I think you bring the best of both worlds. Like, it's not something from a foreign planet, but it's also so ridiculously good we can't do it. So how does that happen? Well, let me ask you this question. If you had 5 minutes to make something to eat, what would you make? Right? If you were rushing in the house, gotta run back out, starving.
Wow.
What you grab?
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
And everything is defrosted.
Everything is defrosted.
Okay.
What you making?
Wow. I'm probably getting a boneless, skinless chicken breast. I'm dicing it up. I'm going to saute it, season it, salt, pepper, whatever. Dice it up and, and then kind of saute it with a little olive oil and butter and, maybe make some rice and just do some chicken and rice like that. And maybe if they have some, if it's some soy sauce or some teriyaki sauce or something, kind of toss it in that. If they have some fresh vegetables, kind of toss the vegetables in there and just do a quick stir fry.
See that? See how he did that? 5 minutes on the go. See, any of us with jobs and kids who say we too busy to cook, he just laid it out there for you.
It's simple and easy, yeah.
Simple and easy, and you can still put your foot in it.
No, yeah, I guess so.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, all the time in the world, every ingredient at your disposal. What you making?
Wow. My favorite dish in the world to make is pad thai. Okay, so pad thai is a dish from Southeast Asia. It's
I'm glad you
from Thailand.
Glad you said that because again, black folks are not eating this. So
I understand.
Let me know what it is.
So pad thai it's actually very simple. It's a Thai dish. It's from Thailand, and there's rice noodles. So instead of like pasta noodles or noodles that you get like from an Asian store, these are made with rice, like rice. and they're the noodles are tossed in a sauce with tofu and eggs and vegetables and bean sprouts. It's an amazing, it's a complex flavors in it that's really, really good. And that's the great thing I love about Southeast Asian cuisine, which is my favorite cuisine. It covers the 4 S's, which I call the 4 S's: salty, salty, sweet, spicy, and sour. Okay. So in a dish like pad thai, those 4 things, salty, sweet, spicy, sour, balances out perfectly. It's not too sweet, not too salty, not too spicy, not too much sour. And it's just a perfect balance. Not too many other cuisines in the world balances those 4 S's as much as Southeast Asian cuisine.
I've heard of pad thai. Mm-hmm. I got to admit, I avoid it because I don't like the way the name sounds. Honestly, just full disclosure, man.
It's really good.
I'm gonna have to try it now that you gave it the okay.
It's just like stir fry is what it is. If you like stir fry, you'll like pad thai.
Okay. All right. So for all the meals that you've made, I'm sure there's been millions. Mm-hmm. Any funny stories, man? Anything that you messed up, man? You put the salt instead of the sugar.
Oh wow!
You dropped you dropped something on the floor, picked it back up, then tell them. I mean, not that you would do that.
No, I wouldn't do that. Well, you know what? One that's funny, and it's actually from when I was in culinary school. So when I was in culinary school, I worked during the day. So I worked at Progressive during the day and went to school in the evening. So our curriculum during this time period that I was there were sauces. So we were making sauces. We were making these really complex sauces. So we had homework and we had to make it at home and then bring it into to work, right? So bring it into school. So I made this really complex sauce. I thought it came out really well. I put it in a little container, put it in my back seat of my car, and went to work. And then at my lunch on the work, I'm driving and I still remember where I was. This woman cut me off, right? And I stopped and then wheels went everywhere and everything is screeching. And something told me, look in the back seat. I looked in the back seat and all of that sauce was on the so the sauce, it was on the carpet and everything, right? So the sauce is very similar. Well, it looks like chicken broth is what it looks like. It looks like chicken broth. So I'm panicking. I'm like, that sauce takes 3 hours to make, right? There's no way in the world I could do it, right? So I said, I'm just going to run to the store. I'll get some chicken broth, put it in a container, put it in. My chef instructor, later on in class, looked at me, tasted that, and just said, Eric, go somewhere. Just go somewhere. I mean,
So did you have to explain what happened, man?
He didn't want to hear that. So I got an F on that little part there.
The
I was
chicken
so mad.
Swap.
Yeah.
Did not. That's like something out of a sitcom, man.
You should have saw the look on my face when I turned around and saw that broth all on the back of my carpet on my floor.
I want to know, what was the look on your face when you hatched the plan to go get the chicken broth? That's what I want to know.
It was like, hey, I'd rather just turn in something than nothing, so that's the way I was,
Wow, man. So so I think we got a full picture of what makes Eric Wells Wells, right? So what keeps you grounded, man?
I know, again, another cliche, but just my faith does. I'm amazed at what the Lord has done in my life. I was praying just yesterday. I was headed to an event and praying that, and I got kind of emotional too. Just the doors that He has opened for me. And I'm just, again, as I stated before, I'm just a kid from Kinsman. I'm not, I'm not
almost
anything. Almost Chagrin Heights. So I'm just a regular guy that's just been given this gift, and I just, I thank God for doing it. And I'm not special. I'm not, anything, whatever. I'm just using the gift. So, just staying grounded in that, knowing that, all my strength, everything that I have, everything that I am, and everything I attempt to be comes from Him, comes from the Lord. It's not me and working hard and things like that. I just remember when I was younger, it was all about working harder. Maybe if I work harder, I'll make more money, you know, and that's the American way, you know, work harder, make more money, you know,
success,
exactly. Yeah. And, you know, I think about when I was at Progressive and I was doing this, what I do right now, I was doing both and stressed out and things like that. I left Progressive 7 years ago to do this full time. And I've had more peace in the last 7 years than any time in my entire life. And I thank God for that daily. Yeah. I mean, the financial and all that is great, and I thank God for that. But more than anything, He's given me a peace that surpasses all understanding. And I thank Him. I thank Him daily for it.
That's a great testimony, man. Yeah. All right, so before we get out of here, just a couple quick ones, man. Cleveland, we talked about born and bred here, man. We know how Cleveland is with food. There's a huge tie. How much has Cleveland's food culture influenced you? Like, do you have like a Polish boy, you know, deluxe, or do you have like, you know, is there anything like that? Do you rock some pierogies up in there, man? What about Cleveland do you put up in there?
You know what? I don't do the typical Cleveland cuisine. I honor it and I respect it. And when I go to other cities, I'm always, hey, listen, we got the best Polish boys and best pierogies in the world, you know. But, you know, the one thing I love about Cleveland is how eclectic it is. Yeah. You know, how you can go get so many different cuisines from all over. And that's the one thing I love that the Lord has blessed me with is my tie-ins with so many different food communities in the city, you know, with the African American chefs, you know, I had a young guy tell me last week that, you know, they called me the sage of the black chefs, which I didn't know if that meant I'm old or if it, you know, whatever, but
it
I didn't know wisdom
to do with the gray hair.
Yeah, he made the gray or something. I don't know, but I took it positively as having some wisdom is what I took it as. But even in some of the other scenes, you know, I've done things with Michael Simon. I've done things with Jonathan Sawyer and all these other people that have, you know, called me on to be part of some projects that they're working on. So, you know, that's the one thing I love. I love the unity in the chef community, you know, and I'm just honored to be part of it and honored to share my gift with people, you know.
Wow. Well, I got to say, you know, me and my wife took part in your Southern Classics. We took part in your Thanksgiving, man. Listen, so good. So good.
Thanks, bro.
Real quick before we go, what's next for you? I mean, what do you have coming up that actually people can get into? Because I know most of it's sold out. Yeah. But
so a couple of things here. One, the new cooking classes start in June of 2019, June of 2019, and they run all the way through March of 2020. Phenomenal classes, some new stuff, some old stuff, but the classes are available now. And the book, you know, I got the book coming out soon, man. So my first book, you know, it's a cookbook about 60 recipes, and then I got about 25 stories of couples that I've done dinners for two for, and honored to have you guys in there, man. You know,
it was so much. We were so excited to take part in it, man. So how can they go check you out and see what's on the slate, man, on the calendar?
Well, always the website, which is skylarrays.com. That's SKYELARAES.com. Or you can Google, Yahoo, whatever, Chef Eric Wells. Check me out on social media, just Chef Eric Wells. Or, you know, just hit me up on the phone, 216-254-2808.
All right. Man, well, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Oh, it's my honor, man. Thank you, bro.
First episode in the books, and it couldn't have been with a better person, man.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Love you, bro, and thank you for coming out,
Thank you so much, Jay.
All right. All right, so this is Jay Floyd with Jay Floyd Speaks Life. I thank y'all for listening. I hope you gleaned something from Chef Eric Wells and his story. This is only the first in the series of podcast interviews to get to know some of the people in our community, how they grew up, what makes them who they are, what makes them tick. And this is how we do. Jay Floyd Speaks Life. Stick with me, y'all. Love y'all.